Theis, the creator of the known world, or at least an overseer of its construct. It was his vision that brought to life a place wrapped in that swallowing darkness. A vision that was given by the creator himself, and Theis anointed as his harbinger, or at least that was what the story was told. For it was he and his brethren that founded and shaped the known world into how we would understand it today. Shaped it from nothingness in which existed in that perpetual darkness. And it was at one time by his side his most gifted ally would aid him, his most trusted friend, and moreover, his brother Dove. Dove who would eventually give form to the Anaku, a shape form that Theis would breathe life into, life and consciousness. But the questions still remain. What made Theis banish his brother with such ire? If they shared a bond so great, what turned them upon each other? What divided the two greatest beings the circle would ever know? Well, it all began with a slight curiosity, as most things do. A curiosity that would lead to a dark discovery, one made by Dove himself, one that would change him forever and, in fact, turn him from his brethren. Turn to save a people who never existed in his mind before, yet they would forever live through him until his banishment, to which he would task these said people to rebel against Theis and his throng, a rebellion that would eventually lead to a great war that would consume all of Euandra, all in the attempts to free them from the bondage and escape into the one place they could flourish, the realm of life, that place where the Titans, Anaku, would reign. And it was there they would flourish. So there's going to be a contrast between the Anaku's creation by Theis and the Titans and the subsequent story coming forward about Dove and the Aeon. And we're going to establish this for you to see this divide here. Now, I want to first tell the story of the Aeon from their perspective. I think it's vastly important to see the structure of the Aeonic people and where they came from and how their world was shaped and in what way they would see Dove. So in the story going forward, just how these early Aeonic people, these keepers as they were called, would have seen Dove. They would have seen him as his creator. They wouldn't see them as a side brother to fucking Theis, and the Aeon are some offshoot thing of the Anaku. When it comes to the story going forward, the Aeon themselves were born from the other world, and from that point they were never necessarily the same thing as the Anaku. The Anaku were born in the material world. Meanwhile, the Aeon were in the immaterial world. So we're going to see a connection of these two realms here, but this story is crucial in how they look at their creation myth, their being born. Keep in mind this is in the astral realm, but it's very key to understand what these early keepers would have understood when it comes to their place within the cosmos. In the now desolate land of the Forgotten, or as you may know it, the Other, there was a beauteous feeling discovered, a shared passion essence in which was carried around through the astral. For there was no need of words or thought. It was automatic. It was always given. It was love. It is said when the Creator felt this, he began his path of change and looked to create, unsure of what, but of something indeed. He took light, which was all but a single flicker of creation. Clear and focused, he started. These beings who serve the Titans in the astral realm are no more than sustenance, no more than prey to be consumed. Beings almost invisible until one would focus his mind enough and evade the reality that served as one shared vision. He began first with the keepers, the true keepers of faith, not as you have heard of them before, but higher beings. Then their citadel was created, hidden deep within the circle, a place where the Titans would never find them, to which he, the Creator, had created his children. Unhindered and always present, there was no need of hierarchy, social or otherwise, just beings present in the moment as they should be. They grew tall and they grew wise. They would not scorch the realm with greed nor evil. They did not consume the land damned and hollow. Yet they bore a power that was truly amazing. For they were closer to God than anyone would ever be. They were the most intelligent beings within the circle. They matured, and so did their spiritual consciousness grow further, from Gaia-loving nomads to sophisticated intellectuals. And their world grew as well. Lands were being formed and founded, but soon they would outgrow their realm. And it was the Creator who called into them for a mass exodus, one that would take them into a whole new realm. For it was said, dangers of a great host would surely be upon them. And so they set off to find an escape. But it was the very same Creator who showed them a leader, one that would take these people from the circle and into the great unknown. This leader, this king, would be given shape by the Creator himself. This being was told to be the Landstrider. Who is the Landstrider? What does that even mean? It's kind of a myth that was created a long time ago by the Aeonic people as the man that would set them free from the realm of the astral and birth them into the realm of the physical. Because these two places are divided, and the only way we can access each one is through these portals. Now later on we'll discover that these portals were uncovered by these people, possibly at the behest of Dove, possibly merely it was Oapake himself. It's not 100% clear. But these portals, these openings, were through, let's say in a simple way, the minds of the beings that are accessing these dreams. So this dream world that happens to be can be the portal out of this place. But it can be quite dangerous, for you never know what mind and how that mind perceives that you may walk through. Because what it can do is leave a stain upon yourself. It can leave you to be too subjective in your view of the material world. But this isn't coming quite yet. Let's get back to the story at hand. One of the greatest leaders of man, one who would free them from their bondage and the clutches of the Titans. This being would be known as the Landstrider, the one who would bring said people into the realm of the Anaku and out of that prison known as the realm, where they were being quietly consumed. This being would be called Oapake, or Dulag, or even Arya, but most would know him as the Forgotten King, a name that was given in spite by Theis himself, a name that would curse this being and his chosen people, curse them into further servitude and chains. Now eventually, while Dove was creating the Landstrider, he would be found out and questioned by the other Titans. This would surely lead to his banishment back to the realm of the Creator, where he would await judgment by the one true God. So you can already see the way that these Aeon would have looked at themselves and seen themselves born to the next realm. It was vastly important to understand what was described there as there was a threat that was coming towards them and they needed to flee from it. This is the point in the story that is when the portals were created and we could say ascension into the material world, or descension, depends on how you really want to look at it, would be born from that point. But that's their viewpoint of it. They had to escape this place. These Titans were not exactly these bastions of hope that Dove was. Though Dove is the same thing as the Titans, he saw something different from them, and he wanted to get these people free from their clutches. They served the Titans in bondage, in servitude. They were slaves to these Titans. The Titans drew from them their essence and destroyed them. Whether that was their ambition or not, that's what was going on, and Dove saw this as an opportunity to free his people. But how that comes about, the story will slowly unravel. Though to truly understand the vastness of this, let's go back to the beginning and give the account through the Anaku texts of the creation of Yuandra. Let us unravel this story, for the truth in such a tale can be hard to define when we blur the lines between destiny and obedience. Let us then begin where it all started, right at the side of his brother during the creation of the world. For it began as all things do, with the Word, and the Word was the world. The cosmic hemispheres collided and smashed into great shapes. From the darkness they crushed together and formed that world which would be called Euandra. A world that was brought about by those small words of Theis floating there quietly in the vast empty dark. Though as he willed the primordial essence to collide into one mass, it was his brethren, the Titans, who would begin to bring shape and thought to this place. Dove, who stood at his brother's side, watched in awe, for merely the sheer ambition of Theis was terrible indeed, let alone the whisper of creation that passed from his lips. A whole world made from nothing right before his very eyes. It was all done at the behest of their creator, or at least that was what Theis had told him. For none have heard the voice of God as he did, the voice of the creator. It must have been a great burden, thought Dove, yet still, his brother felt confident, and proud even, of what would be accomplished. Now, it was this place, this empty hollow realm that floated alone outside the Titan circle, that gauntlet of realms for those chosen beings. And it was Theis who himself would leave and commune to their god, for he would beseech the Creator to give them guidance on what should become in the dark place, what the Titans should do in order to bring that darkness into the circle. Speaking to God was a great honor indeed, one that brought great pride to Dove, for his brother was everything to him. Not only everything he could not be, but everything he wanted to. He was, in fact, greatly jealous deep down, though he would never show it, no. He would relish in the light that always seemed to emanate from him.
The world must be made imperfect, nothing astray, nothing by chance nor accident. All must have its grand purpose, one that reflects the Creator himself.
Of course, my brother, said Dove. Our brothers will do you greatly in this, that I know. For look, now they bring about the finishing touches to this place. Tell me, what would you call it? Theis searched his thoughts, only pondering for one quick moment to profoundly say,
Euandra. I feel he would greatly appreciate the gesture, don't you?
He looked to Dove with a smile. Yes, my brother, I'm sure he would.
Now, Dove, go and help your brothers, for it is clear they would need your touch in this place, and soon I will tell you the plan brought to me by the Creator.
In many different ways, it makes even me wonder if Theis himself is a creator. Is he God? And when he talks about going back to the Creator to make sure that all is right, to know what the plan is, to further the plan, is Theis some sort of conduit of God, some sort of part of God himself that goes off and comes back to source once again to relay the messages, or is he merely like a messenger or a conveyor of God?
Theis isn't much of a god, as much as he is an imposter and an imposer, a parasite. Dove is that same thing, but he kind of went like, oh, I'm full of shit.
Dove then sent about as his brother wished, and gave aid to all the Titans. As he walked the unshaped world, he saw its form coming into shape. A shape that was unfamiliar to what he knew before. And under the guidant light of Pramos, the star, their vessel from the other realm, shone bright over it all, an illumination of creation. Under the guidance of Dove, thus came to be. Thyarna and Krykos would take to the cooling land and brought shape to the face of the world. For Krykos claimed the waters and shaped them as vast and expansive as the void above. The waters divided and carved between the soft parts of the world. Though with the aid of Thyarna and her stones of the world, she helped give him a place for the water to flow. Krykos took his fingers and carved into the lands rivers that ran so beautifully throughout, putting his image as often as he could within the waters, acting upon rock. Soon enough he made the king of the seas, a being in the shape of his thought that would rule over all life under the waves, and it was this thought form that made these creatures, made to love the waters as much as Krykos. These creatures would swarm the deep trenches. They would fight the currents and prowl the rivers, ponds, lakes, seas, and oceans. Krykos, as lord of the water, made all manner of fish and sea creatures, even the powerful water dragons, which looked the most in his image, an image that he chose as he navigated the waters. The seas and waters were teeming with life, and whole food chains happened that put all in balance. Krykos swam the waterways always and forever. His roads would cut through the hardened land, for even he knew how water could always take the land. Slowly would he erode away all in his path, and his water will always go where it needed, where he is needed. Then there was Thyarna, and it was she who was taken by the stones of life, the deep vastness that would be the bed of all the compounded layers. From all them, all rocks would lay. The base of all the world, or stones of the world they were called, and it would be the beginning. For the compounded minerals would be the ground in which countless beings could tread. She would shape whole continents of bodies. She would jet out stones that touched the sky, calling them mountains. Then it was she who took the high places of the world, places that held no warmth, just as she envied. Cold places and vast climbs of stone. Far to the heights and deep within the world, the rocks and stones shaped the land, creating mountains that divided whole land masses and smashed together others. But when she moved the plates, it would push land into one another and create massive mountains. Yet the primordial being Gaival was then born from her thoughts, the guardian of these heights, placed she held so dear, and mother of all the stones. This was when Dhoves saw he needed to bring life into the world, life that was beyond the stones and waters, something that would live and die, something that could grow, and most of all, something that could bring true beauty to those immovable shapes. So he took to the creation of living beings, these trees, grass, plants, and all manner of flora and fungi. True life, he would call it. He took to coloring the world, though these creatures needed something to help them grow, for their life was that of sacrifice. They needed to be taken, for they held no legs of their own. This was to be the turning point of Dove, when he created what would be known as fauna. Krykos in the waters, with his thought form, created uncountable amounts of creatures to be tested and reshaped into what they truly needed to be. His waters were full. And Dove came to Krykos and asked him for aid on his new project, to which Krykos thought exceptionally long. He only knew what would be aquatic, and was very unskilled in what lies above the seas. Yet it would be Jin, the mover of the winds, who would eventually aid him, for it was his breath that filled the sky with the air to breathe and the cardinal winds to heed. And so they gave life, and along with the help of Krykos, waters would come from the skies. This gave the flora and fungi life and sustenance. Though Dove still thought new forms of animals were needed to aid in the plant life. For how could these green beings be moved if not consumed? Jin himself was at odds with the creation of living fauna. Dove made the mold of these new beings, but they lacked something greater, something more than breath could give them. And that was when Dove was able to create from his mind Sineu, the thought form of the animals, the whisper that gave them true life. Dove looked to the creation of soulless creatures in Theis' absence, animal life of many different varieties, animals that needed one another to survive, hierarchies that were suitable, creatures that took to different lands for different purpose, whether that be for comfort or indeed that instead purpose. Soon he had the world filled with moving life, until the world looked as it does now, without the touch of May or man. All seemed to be working perfectly after some time. All those titans who chose to follow Theis to the void were pleased. Then Theis gathered the titans among the astral. He spoke of his larger plan, whereas he told his brethren,
I must search out the Creator, for I have discovered beings that float out of the darkness. Beings I feel compelled to give a home. This one here, Euandra. For that must be what our true purpose must be. I must know what to do about those lost beings floating among the void. Now, this home has all but the shepherds. Yet I would need the blessing of the Creator himself, so that I must do. I will go back and find him. I will beseech his grace and ask him if this is our true purpose. We must know what we do is good.
And so he left. But first he gave instructions to the Titans. They were to establish physical homes in the void, places all their own where they could rest, and also places that they could instruct their thought forms from above. And while their physical bodies would rest in the heavens, they would take their spirits back to the astral world. For in creation, much energies have been exerted, and it was here Dove would place himself upon the home, so that he could join his brethren in the astral to discuss what would come next. Dove and all his brethren who shaped and created this world made it into the most perfect, harmonious thing. Now, all seem to work in order. I don't think that the Titans themselves necessarily knew what they were doing, but merely that they were following the instruction of Theis. That's their prophet. That's the benefactor of what they're doing here. You got to keep in mind, they made everything within the circle all working in perfect order. All the souls that can rise and fall and be recycled again and be pushed back into the universe. Think of it like a place where things are renewed. And now they've shaped this realm that lies outside of that, this Yuandra, in the hopes that they can bring it into the circle. So the world is shaped, it's all unmade. We have the beautiful luscious greens, reds, yellows, browns, as it was described. All the animals, all the flora, all the bugs, and all the fungi have been made. So we have a working order, but it lacks, as he says, the shepherds, the beings that can make all of this whole. Think of, in our world, the human race, the shepherds of the world. What God has bestowed upon us is this place. Well, that is what they will seek to do. So when they would retreat back into the astral realm, after creating their physical bodies in the cosmos of the darkness, that is where they awaited for Theis to come back. Soon enough, Theis returned to the astral realm after a while. All the Titans then gathered. It was time to hear from the Creator. Dove himself was overjoyed at the prospect in his brother's endeavors. Slowly was he falling in love with the land that he created, coveting them almost. What beautiful colors shaped together, of greens, reds, browns, oranges, colors of life. Creatures that held life but did not have souls. Simple creatures who only knew how to grow and live. They had no way to move unless they relied upon others. Dove knew he needed these new beings that Theis spoke of, these shepherds, for they would make the world complete. And when Theis arrived bringing great news, he was overjoyed. He confirmed the blessing of the Creator and the way of the shepherd. The souls that wandered the void with no path or purpose would soon have one, though it would be no easy task. He asked all the Titans to gather to him, and they would begin with bringing the souls of the void into the bodies that would be made by Dove. He was overjoyed. This was a task given to him. He set about straight away and shaped these new beings, a shape that was much in the same that already existed in the world. From the source of the planet they made these people. These people are called the Inakume.
So, to first address, like, what the Inaku are, we have to, like, address how they start. So, like, let's just go in order. The first notion is, physically, the Inaku are kind of like humans, but they're not. They're wooded creatures, right? They're made of wood, you know, and they move slower, and their motorics are almost unexplainable, because it's like they exist in a formless world without rules or physics. They do kind of exist in a world without the rules and physics that we do, even though those rules and physics are still present. They're present in a much more ethereal sense.
Some of the Titans thought it was their job from the Creator to bring these beings into the realm of the circle.
Why are they outside of it? We need to bring them in. That's our job.
Okay.
They thought they were tasked by the Creator to do this. And so when they did that, they made the Anaku made these people. And
That's what they became. Okay.
kind of like mix an elf with a fucking tree. You know what I mean? Like they're made more of that than they are this, essentially.
These creatures were made of the same stuff as the flora that settled upon the land. They were not bodies of meat and bone, but rather fibers and leaf, branches and stone. They were the essence of the world, or eyes in which it lived. The lost souls were now alive through these creatures, for the lost souls of the Anaku were to become the shepherds of this world and all the creatures upon it. And their life would be great in power and bring that very power to the Titans. A power that allowed this place to exist. Through the eventual worship of the Titans, they would be able to create more realms, and more ways to serve the Titans would then serve their creator, all in his image and plan. The world was a living, breathing place that was part of the Anaku. That is where we see the vast difference of them. To look at a being would be to look at the walking, moving plant life. This was not until life was granted by the Titans, or more rather Theis, who would soon be called by the Anaku's Kramos, life-giver. They were overjoyed at their new forms, a physical form that allowed them to be tethered, though eventually they would become sick and wither away. They said that they needed Mother, a being that soothed them in the void, before the Titans came. She has now disappeared. She could heal them, for they thought her life, and through them she lived. Now they were separated from mind to soul. The Titans knew they must link this divide by bringing the bodies of the world, Mother Gaia. Once it was discovered the only way to heal them was to give the world a life as well. And so the Titans looked to create the trees of life that could capture her essence and trap her in the heart of the world, to which Randra then came to be. A living, breathing world that felt emotion and change with the times. Also did she change and grow herself to what was needed for her children, the Anaku. Now the life of the mother, Yuandra, was given by the mighty trees. And within these woods are the trees of life, places that hold the very essence of her. These places would need to be safeguarded by the Anaku. So in time they took themselves to the forest and lived under the canopies, lived in the darkness as they had done before. Soon enough cities would be founded, clans would arise, and all those Anaku flourish for countless aeons.
The reason they fled to the forest is there's the main line of thinking, which was this was to be closer to Mother, which is this concept of Mother Earth, this concept of the world as a god that they're familiar with, that is Mother. I don't believe that is the case. In the Southern Visan way of thinking for this is what one would call like a very subversive line of thought for this kind of mythology. They're not fleeing to be closer to Mother, they, in a sense, are Mother. Gaia is the mind that Dove shaped. She is the thing he turned into this mass awareness, right? They didn't
thought form.
Yes. And they flee to the forest because, one, they're kind of supposed to be there. That's what they're made out of. That's like, why does a horse stay in a field? Well, where else would you fucking put him?
When Dove looked at all that they had made, he felt joy. These beings now had a vessel, one that was crafted by he and ordained by Theis. They would live in those darkened forests close to their mother to dwell quietly. But some time had gone by and he would notice they were not much more than the very animals of the world. There was nothing that would resemble higher beings. Shepherds of the world they were not. More so, they lived like wild beasts or perhaps even the wild flowers. There was nothing that drove them. Nothing that made them reach for anything greater. Like dogs, they hunted, then ate, then slept, and repeated. Dove looked to Theis and said, "Is this it? Are they to be no more than dogs? Can they not ascend to our understanding?
No. No being can ever ascend to our understanding. But I have a plan.
Said Theis.
One that will shock you all.
He looked to his brothers.
Dove, you asked if this is it. Well, we can bring them into something more. Something that resembles what exists within the circle. Come with me.
It was Theis who then spoke of giving these beings, these Anaku, consciousness. One that would require connection to the circle. And here he gave Dove the greatest trust, for it was Dove that would aid him. For Theis needed power to make this mind of the Anaku, and it could only be done in that other place where the Titans dwelled, the astral, the home of all thought, for that place was full of raw energy that could become shaped into anything. Dove would need to draw great power from Theis, so that he might use such a power to breathe the essence of consciousness into those Anakume. So Dove set about to work on such a great task.
Well, the thing is, I envision that consciousness is one object that he's talking to. Like, it's almost a person kind of puppeteering the bodies.
Yep.
And the moment one of those little things isn't a puppet anymore, that's when he goes, hold on. You know?
Yeah.
It's not a monkey in the forest anymore. It's not a tree with a root system. It's doing things on its own.
And so he would craft such a mind in that other place. One that was pure and connected to another. One that could dream and think. One that could be and see. One that could live in concert with another, yet alone grasp the vastness of it all. A mind that would see anything within that it could without. And this mind in that other place would soon enough take shape. And to his surprise, become a living, breathing being all its own. In some way, that shape of a mind would find a source, one that has always lingered in the astral realm, though none of the Titans ever saw it. A spectral form, one would say, one that quietly lingered in the darkness of that place, much in the same way the Anaku once did outside of the circle. But there was something different about this new being, for it shaped itself around that mind, and soon enough, to Dove's shock, it was a being that held great power within it, more than Theis could ever permit. And it is from here that the story leads to the rise of the AOC. Next time on the Forgotten series. It's in the next episode that we're going to discover just what this thing was that Dove uncovered, and what came to him, and the consequences that lie after that between Dove and Theis. And from there, we're going to see the break of these two mighty titans. But I think it's vastly important to understand this next section, this next video that we'll do, will explain the origins between the Anaku and the Aeon.
What does that thing up there want me to do? And he thinks about it, and that thing up there wants you to help those little guys. That thing up there wants you to give everything you can to those little guys. Right? That's Archangel Michael. I think it was he who was first to bow before mankind. He who loves mankind the most. Because when he realized how much God loved mankind, he went, they must be fucking great.
Yeah.
And that's Dove. And his little creation, you saw his little creation come in line, and we're like, oh, that became mankind. They're just like them.
Well, that's the beauty of creation with him. He didn't even make them. He just discovered them. And that's the cool thing about Dove. Right. It's not like he sat down like Theis and said, I'm going to shape them in the image. When the first Aeonic being spoke to Dove, it entered the vessel that he was creating. Think of him laying on the table this experience, this thing that's going to harvest a mind. And something jumped in it, and inside this place, it gave itself its own shape. Dove allowed that, and then Dove allowed this Aeonic being to tell him what he was and what he feels.
Yeah, I think of Dove almost like a stepfather.
Yeah.
Like a loving, like a guy who, like, I could never have kids of my own, but I was lucky enough that these little bastards came into my life.